Nobody expected what happened when Al Capone received the phone call that would make him the king of Chicago. January 24, 1925. 4:37 p.m. Al Capone was sitting in his office at the Four Deuces, reviewing the week's numbers from their bootlegging operations. When the phone rang, he almost didn't answer. Saturday afternoons were supposed to be quiet in the Chicago underworld, but something about the urgency of the ringing made him pick up the receiver. Al, the voice was shaky, panicked. It was Jaime Rothstein, one of Johnny Torrio's drivers. You need to get to Jackson Park Hospital now. It's Johnny, he's been shot. The numbers in front of Al became meaningless. The careful calculations, the profit margins, the territory maps, everything disappeared. There was only one thought in his mind. If Johnny Torrio was dead, Al Capone was about to become the most wanted man in Chicago. What happened next would transform a 26-year-old lieutenant into the most powerful gangster in American history. But first, Al had to survive the next 24 hours. To understand that phone call, you need to understand the war that had been raging in Chicago for 3 months. It started with flowers and ended with blood, the way these things usually do. Dean O'Banion had been Chicago's most dangerous florist. He ran the Northside Gang from a flower shop on State Street, and he'd made the fatal mistake of thinking he could outsmart Johnny Torrio. O'Banion had set up a deal to sell Torrio a brewery, knowing full well the police were planning to raid it. When the raid happened, Torrio got arrested and O'Banion kept the money. That was the kind of betrayal you don't survive in Chicago. November 10, 1924, O'Banion was arranging chrysanthemums for a funeral when 3 men walked into his flower shop. 2 minutes later, O'Banion was the one who needed flowers. 12 bullets had turned Chicago's most powerful Irishman into a memory. Everyone knew Johnny Torrio had ordered the hit, but knowing and proving are different things, and in 1920s Chicago, proof was less important than revenge. Jaime Weiss, Vincent Drucci and George Bugs Moran had been O'Banion's top men. With their boss dead, they had 2 choices: run or fight. They chose fight, and they'd been trying to kill Johnny Torrio ever since. January 12th, they'd tried to ambush Al himself. He survived because he was paranoid enough to vary his routes and smart enough to travel with bodyguards who knew how to shoot back. But it was a warning. The Northside Gang was ungoing to stop until everyone connected to O'Banion's murder was dead. Al had tried to convince Johnny to be more careful. Boss, maybe you shouldn't be driving around the city like everything's normal. These guys are serious. But Johnny Torrio was old school. He'd been running Chicago crime since before Al had learned to shave. He wasn't going to hide in a bunker because some Irish gangsters wanted revenge. Al, Johnny had said, lighting his evening cigar in the office 3 days earlier, fear is a luxury we can't afford. You start hiding, you start losing respect. Lose respect and you lose everything. Now, racing through Chicago traffic toward Jackson Park Hospital, Al wondered if respect was worth dying for. The hospital smelled like carbolic acid in fear. Al pushed through the crowd of nurses and police detectives, his mind calculating threats and opportunities with every step. If Johnny died, the Northside Gang would come for Al next. If Johnny lived but couldn't run the organization, the other Chicago gangs would smell weakness and move in. Either way, Al was about to inherit a war. Dr. Marcus Webb, the chief surgeon, met Al in the hallway outside the operating room. His surgical gown was stained with blood. How bad? Al asked without preamble. 5 bullets, jaw, both lungs, stomach, leg. He should be dead. His wife dragged him to the sidewalk and applied pressure to the wounds. That probably saved his life. Will he live? Dr. Webb hesitated. The bullets aren't the only problem. He keeps asking us to cauterize the wounds. Says the bullets might be poisoned. Al felt his stomach drop. It was true, some gangsters boiled their bullets in poison to guarantee their targets would die even if the shooting was unfatal. If Torrio was right about the poison, can you test for it? Not quickly enough. If there's poison, it's already in his system. We're doing what we can. Can I see him? Dr. Webb glanced at the police detective standing nearby, then back at Al. He's been asking for you. The room was white and sterile, nothing like the dark smoke-filled offices where Johnny Torrio usually conducted business. He looked small in the hospital bed, smaller than Al had ever seen him. Bandages covered half his face, and his breathing was labored. But his eyes were alert, sharp, the same eyes that had built the most profitable criminal organization in Chicago. Al, Johnny's voice was barely above a whisper, distorted by the damage to his jaw. Sit down. Al pulled a chair close to the bed. Johnny, don't worry about anything. We'll handle this. We'll get the guys who did this. Johnny shook his head slowly. No revenge, not right now. Listen to me carefully because I might not get another chance to explain. Al leaned closer. The next 5 minutes would determine the rest of his life. I'm done, Al. This war with the North Side, it's bigger than I thought. These aren't street criminals anymore. They're organized, patient, professional. They've been planning this for months, but you survived. You'll recover maybe, but I'll never feel safe again. Every car, every doorway, every phone call, I'll be waiting for the next attempt. That's no way to live, and it's no way to run a business. Johnny reached out with his uninjured hand and gripped Al's wrist. I'm giving it all to you. The breweries, the speakeasies, the protection rackets, the political connections. All of it. Al stared at him. Johnny, you're not thinking clearly. The morphine. I'm thinking more clearly than I have in months. You want to know something, Al? I'm relieved. For the first time in 20 years, I don't have to worry about who's trying to kill me today. I can't run this organization. I'm 26 years old. Half the guys won't respect orders from someone my age. Johnny smiled, despite the pain. Then make them respect you, not through fear. Any idiot with a gun can inspire fear. Make them respect your intelligence, your strategy, your ability to make them richer and safer than they've ever been. How first you end this war with the Northside gang. Not by killing them all, that just creates more enemies. End it by showing them that peace is more profitable than war. Al frowned. They tried to kill you. They tried to kill me and they failed. Sometimes survival is the strongest message you can send. Right now, Jaime Weiss and Bugs Moran think they're winning because they put me in the hospital. Tomorrow, when they see that the organization is stronger than ever with you in charge, they'll realize they made a mistake. A nurse knocked on the door. Visiting hours are over. Mr. Torrio needs rest. Johnny gripped Al's wrist tighter. One more thing. There's a safe in my office. Behind the painting of the ships. Combination is 51124. The dates my nephew was born. Inside you'll find a book with every police officer, judge, and politician we've paid in the last 5 years. Guard that book with your life. It's worth more than all the money we've made. Al stood up slowly, feeling the weight of an entire criminal empire settling on his shoulders. What do I tell the newspapers? The police? Tell them Johnny Torrio is recovering and will be back to work soon. Don't let anyone know about the transition until I'm out of this hospital. If they think there's instability, every ambitious gangster in Chicago will try to take a piece of our territory. That night, Al sat in Johnny Torrio's office, staring at the safe behind the painting of ships. The combination worked on the first try. Inside was the book Johnny had mentioned, along with a letter with his name on it. Al, the letter began, if you're reading this, it means I'm either dead or close to it. You're not ready to run this organization at age 26, but you're smart enough to learn quickly and tough enough to make the hard decisions. The men who work for us care about making money and staying alive. Give them both, and they'll follow you anywhere. Fail at either and they'll kill you in your sleep. Here are 3 rules I've followed for 15 years. 1. Never make a promise you can't keep. 2. Never start a war you can't finish. 3. Never trust anyone who has more to gain from your death than your success. The book in this safe tells you who you can trust in government. Remember, bought men stay bought only as long as you keep paying them more than your enemies can. Good luck, Al. Chicago is yours now. Don't let it destroy you, Johnny. Al folded the letter and looked out at the city that was now his responsibility. Chicago stretched out before him, 8 million people unaware that their fate was now in the hands of a 26-year-old bootlegger from Brooklyn. The phone on Johnny's desk rang. Al hesitated for a moment, then picked it up. This is Al Capone, Mr. Capone. The voice was nervous, uncertain. This is Lieutenant Murphy from the 18th Precinct. We usually get our weekly payment on Sundays. With Mr. Torrio in the hospital, we wanted to make sure. The arrangement continues exactly as before, Al said. Same amount, same schedule, nothing changes. Thank you, Mr. Capone. We appreciate the consistency. Al hung up and realized that he'd just made his first decision as the leader of the Chicago outfit. It felt strangely normal over the next 3 weeks while Johnny Torrio recovered in the hospital. Al ran the organization with such efficiency that most people didn't realize anything had changed. The breweries kept producing beer. The speakeasies kept serving customers. The protection money kept flowing in. The police kept looking the other way. But Al was also making changes. Quietly, carefully, he began reaching out to the Northside gang through intermediaries, not to surrender or negotiate weakness, but to propose something revolutionary. A truce based on mutual profit rather than mutual destruction. The message he sent to Jaime Weiss was simple. The war ends now. We both keep our current territories. We both focus on making money instead of making corpses. Anyone who violates the peace answers to both of us. Weiss's response came 3 days later. One condition. Torrio leaves Chicago permanently. Al understood. The Northside gang could not let the man who'd ordered O'Banion's murder stay in their city. It was a matter of honor, and honor was something even criminals respected. February 14, 1925. Johnny Torrio sat in the passenger seat of Al's Cadillac as they drove toward Union Station. He was still weak but insisted on making the trip. You sure about this? Al asked. I've never been more sure of anything, Johnny replied. Anna and I are taking a ship to Italy. We're going to pretend we're respectable people. And if the Northside gang changes their mind about the truce, Johnny smiled. Then you remind them why they were afraid of us. But you do it smart, Al, cleanly, completely. They shook hands at the platform. Johnny Torrio walked away without looking back, carrying nothing but a suitcase and the memory of 15 years ruling Chicago. Al Capone drove back to his office, alone for the first time since he'd arrived in Chicago 5 years earlier. He was now the undisputed boss of the most powerful criminal organization in America. He was 26 years old, and he controlled an empire worth millions of dollars. But the real test was still coming. March 1, 1925. The first challenge came from Vincent Palmisano, one of Torrio's former lieutenants, who walked into Al's office with 3 armed men. Nothing personal, Al Parmisano said, but some of the boys think we need more experienced leadership. Al didn't reach for his weapon. Vincent, you've got two choices. Try to shoot me and spend your life fighting wars, or sit down and let me explain why following me is the smartest decision you'll ever make. Al opened a ledger book. Last month we made $200,000 profit. How? By thinking like businessmen instead of gangsters, by expanding instead of fighting, by making deals instead of enemies. Al stood up. You can try to kill me and take over a $2 million organization, or work with me and help build a $20 million organization. Your choice. Parmisano slowly moved his hand away from his gun. What do you need from me? Loyalty, intelligence, and the understanding that if you point a gun at me again, the conversation won't end this peacefully. By the end of 1925, Al Capone had transformed Johnny Torrio's criminal organization into something unprecedented. The Chicago outfit controlled bootlegging, gambling, prostitution, labor unions, and significant portions of local government. They were making an estimated $100 million per year. More importantly, Al had made his enemies more afraid of fighting him than of losing to him. The North Side gang kept their truce because profits outweighed revenge. The police stayed bought because Al paid them better. The politicians supported him because he delivered votes and money. Al Capone had become what Johnny Torrio always said was the most dangerous thing, a smart gangster with discipline. When federal agents finally brought down Al Capone on tax evasion charges, they estimated his organization had been responsible for more than 200 murders. But the killing that mattered most had never happened. On January 24, 1925, when Johnny Torrio survived 5 bullets, Al Capone inherited an empire, and in the 24 hours that followed, he proved something that would define his legend. Sometimes the most powerful thing a dangerous man can do is choose not to pull the trigger. If this story of intelligence, strategy, and the moment a legend was born moved you, hit that subscribe button. We're telling the Al Capone stories that show the man behind the myth, the decisions that built an empire, the choices that made him a king. Drop a like if you believe smart beats tough every time, and in the comments, tell us, would you have taken the deal that made Al Capone the most powerful man in Chicago?